hello to the second conversation in the series Bread and Roses. And today I'm really happy that I will be talking with my dear friend, troublemaker, pain in the ass, but also a person with the softest heart, Marta Lempart. Marta, hi.
Hi.
So, how are you these days? What is going on in Poland? You managed to help to change the government. Is it really better?
No, it's not better. So we have the stolen victory situation, unfortunately. So yeah, it was women's protests that brought the previous right-wing regime down. First in the polls, 10%, and then with this huge mobilization of women and young people voting, like record high voters turnout. And of course, one of the electoral promises was legalizing, decriminalizing of abortion. But as it usually happens, we have also in this new government, we have this Christian fundamentalist minority party. They actually have the Speaker of Parliament. Speaker of Parliament is from that party. So we've seen the full anti-abortion, pro-ban campaign going just after the elections, with the other parties in coalition not reacting. So we're in a situation now when we're actually fighting against the ban on abortion again, and we are facing a defeat in the parliament because this coalition formed now with the previous government, with the extreme right, and with the Christian fundamentalist minority in the new government to drop all bills on abortion in the first reading. So to drop the bills to legalize, drop the bills to decriminalize, to just shoot them down next week in the parliament. So as we can see, hate against women is something that is much over the political barriers, because we have the ex-government and the new government, at least part of it, aligning to shoot down any changes on abortion. So yeah, it's a stolen victory situation, and it shows in the polls. It was 76% voters turnout amongst women in elections in October. Now with the upcoming elections, it will be 46. So it's down by 30. And that's the result of the Christian fundamentalist minority having basically all the narratives and all say on women's rights and reproductive rights, and the prime minister and the biggest party in the coalition basically staying silent and allowing them to do whatever they want.
Yeah, and this is like actually a situation where minorities trapping the opinion of the majority of Polish population. One of the things that surprised me is that basically the majority of people in Poland is supporting abortion.
70% of people in Poland want legal abortion. That's also the outcome of the women's movements, women's rights, women's protests, everything that was happening the last 8 years. Because when we started in 2016, support for legal abortion in Poland was 37%. And I say that a lot, that we started at this 30% support level, because there's this story about Polish women fighting for legalization of abortion from day one when the new government started. No, it's just when the previous government started. It's not true. I'm one of persons who actually didn't know. I didn't know we had a ban. We were just grown into it, basically, thinking that abortion banned with 3 exceptions, because that's the law in Poland. Abortion is banned with just 3 very narrow exceptions. Now it's 2. We thought that this was usual. We thought that was normal. So this has changed. Like this huge group of people who thought, yeah, this is the status quo. Everybody knows how much it costs. Everybody knows how to arrange abortion. Everybody knows somebody who said an abortion, but we're not talking about it. It's not in the state system. It's just somewhere. It has changed, and now it's 70% in favor of legalization, and it's actually 92% of people who voted this new government. 92%. So it includes also the voters of the Christian fundamentalist party. It's 84% of their voters who want legal abortion, but their leaders, they are Christian fundamentalists. So yeah, basically, when you're a Christian fundamentalist, it's impossible that you would be also a Democrat. So they don't absolutely care about following their voters' opinions on that.
So basically, abortion is a common value. Can you still explain more in detail, like what is the situation in Poland with abortion? One of the things that you learned me is that in Poland there are possibilities of safe abortions. There are options, and
we're proud.
Yeah, and there is a really good system, but still women are being killed in the hospitals.
Yes. So yeah, this is really good and really bad situation, because officially abortion is illegal except for two clauses. One is when there's a danger to woman's life or health, and second when the pregnancy is a result of the crime. Also, the third one was theoretically shut down by the so-called constitutional court, but we know it was not a valid ruling. So we can also say that, yeah, also the fetus abnormality clause is also a reason for abortion in Poland, at least officially, legally now. And it's about 1,000 abortions per year, while in the outside system, it's 150,000 abortions per year. So Poland is the best example. Banning abortion doesn't mean no abortions. Obviously, people get abortions and people have abortions. What we have built, like the community and feminist organizations, is one of the best systems providing abortions in Europe, because we are lucky to have this law that does not criminalize women for having abortion. So terminating own pregnancy is legal in Poland. Going abroad to terminate one's pregnancy is legal in Poland. Also informing about how to get an abortion is legal in Poland. So that's how the system providing abortions is built. The biggest collective, Abortion Without Borders, provides 50,000 abortions per year to people who need abortions. 90% of them, over 90% of them, are with the abortion pills that are also not banned in the Polish law, because when law was established in 1993, nobody knew that there was that there will be an abortion pill. So we have this basically one phone number, one website, one Facebook page. Everything is official. People who do that, activists who provide these services, go to the media. They show their faces. Everybody knows their names. And I think that's what's working. So the number to Abortion Without Borders, the number where you should call when you need abortion, 22 29 22 597, is the third most known number in Poland. So one is the police, second is the fire guys, and the third one is actually accessing abortion, because at some point during our protest in 2020, it became a national sport to put this number everywhere. So then opposition politicians would go to the public media, to the national media, and during live shows, they would just show the card saying, you need abortion, call 22 29 22 597. It was all the buildings, it was everywhere. So the thing that happened with this out of the system is breaking the barrier that is always there with the grassroots built systems, that people who need the service might not know about it. In Poland, everybody knows how to get an abortion. So this is the perfectly working system. And imagine, it's one of the best systems in Europe. We don't have the waiting period. We don't have doctors dwelling and being gods. We don't have documents and meetings and pressure and whatever thing that there is, in the official systems in Europe, to make women feel miserable and humiliated and not good enough, and to drive us crazy, basically, because we want to access a medical service. We don't have that. We have accessible abortion. We have actually assistance. While people are having abortion, they can also call a number and have this assistance, like a psychological assistance, and have all the questions answered. Is it okay that it's happening to me? Is it fine? And so on, with no judgment. So yeah, this is the perfectly working system. But first, the flaw of the system is that people have to pay. And of course, Abortion Without Borders provides assistance also to persons who cannot afford it. So they collect the money, they crowdfund, they pay for services. And the other thing is that our influence and the service ends when there's a need to go to a hospital. Because in Polish hospitals, women die. And this is something that you cannot build a collective that would just prevent that, because it happens in hospitals. Is the doctors deciding to let women die? And this is a real tragedy. We know about some cases, but we have to assume that there were many more. So there are like 6 loud cases, just a couple of last years. And each time it was decision of the medical professionals to let women die while being pregnant, because they didn't want to perform abortion, legal abortion. So we're talking about doctors in Poland denying women legal abortions, because abortion, when there's danger to women's life or health, is legal, but they still wouldn't perform those abortions. They would still put this risk on women and make decisions that would lead to women dying. So the medical community is the scariest part, and the hospitals in Poland are the scariest part. Imagine that while being pregnant in Poland, you have to avoid going to hospital at all costs, that you have to know if you end up in hospital. You have to not believe any word anybody says. You have to have a lawyer with you, a lawyer's number. You have to be in contact with Federa organization that transfers people if there is a need from a hospital to a hospital when they might be saved. You have to be ready to talk to the media. Your family has to be ready to fight and shout and struggle and do whatever. And you have to know that they might kill you there. This is being pregnant in Poland when you have to think about going to a Polish hospital. And this is something that is hard. And you cannot fight it out of the system. It has to be the change within the system.
Yeah. Like one of the images when I think of Poland is like angry women taking things into their own hands. And like before we actually met, like I saw a lot of photos of you like screaming at the protest, standing on car, like being like arrested and like loud. And can you tell us the story about like how women's strike began? Like we know what are the reasons like you have to be angry and to demand change, but like what is the story? How you ended up in this whole like mess around?
Every day. It started in 2016 when there was this bill in the parliament that would basically ban all abortions. So that was just very, very narrow clause of direct danger to women's life, not even to women's health, and the danger would have to be direct, so women would effectively start to die, in doctors' presence. So and the things that were there in this bill would also mean jail for miscarriage, basically. So that was really terrifying, and that's I think moved people, because as I said, we've had this ban for many years. We didn't know that it's called a ban. We were lied that this is a compromise, that this is a regular thing, that this is just a status quo. It is how it is. We didn't know. Like most of people didn't know that. And then when they put this bill, of course, there's a story that there was also the bill to legalize, and this bill was dropped. But this is the big city feminist academic story about how people protested for legalization. It's a lie. We don't have to lie like this. Nobody cared about legalization then. People wanted to stop this harsher ban from happening. And what we did, I was the person who called for this national protest to be held, and I set the date actually for 3rd October 2016. And I based on this experience that I had previously with Committee for the Defense of Democracy. That was the civic movement that appeared when Kaczynski's regime came. And they've already organized protests, not only in Warsaw, not only big cities, but also in smaller cities. They didn't do anything like on one day. But that there was, at least in people's minds, there was this idea that, we can protest. We don't have to travel to protest. We can protest in our own cities. And that's what we used. People started on this Facebook event that we started. People started asking questions where the protest will be. And I put this Facebook poll basically asking people where they want to protest. And they started naming the cities and tagging the cities they were at, thinking that they will be given information where to go and when. Instead of that, they were asked to join the organizers group that my partner, because Natalia Pancewicz, my ex-partner, was the person who came up with the whole idea. I just said it out loud on the protest, but she was the whole mastermind behind it. So she started this group, this support group for people who, first, they wanted to attend the protest, and then they became organizers. I wrote this 12-point guide, how to organize a demonstration, and that was the work group, basically for people from smaller and middle-sized cities who just wanted to attend, and then they became the local leaders, local organizers. I'm not talking about big cities because they're irrelevant. There's this whole organizations, NGOs, the whole power play thing. It doesn't matter, and it's irrelevant for the protest because no government cares about these kinds of protests. Governments are terrified of people protesting in smaller and middle-sized cities where everybody knows you. So that's how it started, and it was the first protest. And we won. They dropped this bill. The protest was held in 150 cities in Poland and 60 cities abroad also. We had huge support from abroad also. Polish people are everywhere, basically. And then we became a movement. Like 3 weeks after that, there was another protest, 100 cities, because the backlash from the right wing and the church was so bad that all those women who just went out to protest, who went to organize protests, who became these local leaders, were attacked in their local communities, especially by priests. Their children were harassed in schools by priests. Your mother is a murderer. They were called out, in the churches and so on with names and everything else. And then that's the moment when women in Poland I'm not talking about professional activists. I'm not talking people from NGOs. People who were there, they just decided that this is the moment to be disobedient and to just end this. So yeah, I guess I'm thankful for the right wing and the church, because this is the moment where all these women who would just come home, back to their regular lives, they won the battle. We didn't have the harsher ban, so everything stayed as it was. They said, okay, so now I'm done with you. Like, you're treating me like this, you're harassing my family, you're harassing me, you're telling me I can't have a say in what about my body, so I'm done with you. So that was how the movement started, with women saying, okay, I'm done. I'm just done. And I'm talking regular professions, people, teachers and saleswomen and homemakers and whatever profession you can imagine. This is the movement. It's not a professional. We're not a professional organization. We have a foundation next to the movement. But yeah, we're talking about regular people who just became angry. And most of us were angry from the beginning, because to be this local leader in this local community, to organize a protest, it would usually be their local troublemaker. So like, it's a collective of local troublemakers who just wanted, I guess, and they just waited for the good moment to be the real troublemakers. So yeah, that's the basic feature of the movement. I think that, yeah, we're known to be angry, basically. There are actually analysis on that, on the language and on the narratives, that so many angry women. How did it happen that there are so many angry women in Poland?
Can you tell like a little bit more how all of this was organized? Like, if you look from really far, it's actually like pretty amazing that you had so many things happening in so many different cities. But if you have like a little bit like experience with activism, you're like, oh, this must be organizational hell. So for me, the question is like, how this like moment happened, and also like you managed to keep the movement alive, like because of the situation, but also you decided that like you will work on the movement, keep the movement breathing, searching for new stuff. Yeah, can you tell more about this?
Yeah. So we organized on Facebook. It was really simple. We had this local organizers group that I basically ran with my partner. Natalia was the main person to coordinate. And what happened from day one, because I had this previous experience also from previous jobs, that I found out in my previous jobs that people can do amazing things if they get proper support, like if they have someone to basically take cover from, not someone who puts them on the line. So that was the thing. I had to fight a lot of this kind of, I don't know if it's post-communist or whatever corporate mind, of people saying that we have to manage this and I should rule and I should decide what people are doing. And that's so ridiculous. Imagine me deciding how people will protest in a city that is 500 kilometers from Wrocław, and I was living. And there was this mentality with people asking, can we do this? Can we do that? And I was like, I'm here to provide you with media coverage and coordination, and like this coordination that you need, and some money when we started crowdfunding, and social media presence, like social media visibility. I don't care. I don't care how you protest. I don't care what slogans you use. I don't care if it aligns with whatever we're aiming. I don't care. So it's a lot of I don't care if this organization, I think, like me saying, I don't care. This is not my call. This is not my judgment. I'm here to provide whatever resources they are. And I think that was this kind of innovative thing in Poland, because all the previous experiences for many people was big organizations, usually headquarters in the capital city, going to enlighten the masses and bring their agenda and force this agenda upon them, or convince them to run with this agenda and to use proper words and narratives and whatever else. So I think that's stupid, but I know that many countries are like this with, this capital city organizations, and just, I think it's like, especially the Western Europe has this problem, I guess. And they are often asking me, how do you do the grassroots movement? And I'm like, by not telling them what to do. And then the problems start, because many organizations want to tell their members, their people who they work with, to, what to do. And yeah, we never did that. We had this whole, like the possibilities were endless, how people could protest and how they could organize. We would just support them in whatever they were doing. The only rule was not to use violence, and that was basically that. That was all. And we were just supporting people and we were deciding together what the slogan will be. We were deciding together what's the general vibe of the action, but it was always very, very, very general, like just the call for action and just the slogan for the action, and the rest was done by people. So, and imagine, we counted that we had about 10,000 actions in, I think, 4 years. And I had like crisis situations when I had to explain that, something is not aligned with whatever our values are and so on, twice. So imagining establishing the whole monitoring system to run this kind of organization that is now in 600 cities to avoid those 2 cases of 10,000. Controlling, monitoring people, telling them what to do, to avoid these 2 cases of 10,000 actions when the rest of them went perfectly well, and I had to, I didn't have to explain anything, and I didn't have to take the blame for anything, and I didn't have to make statements. So yeah, I think it's just stupid to have this kind of hierarchy system of controlling people, what they do in the field. So I think that's the thing. So when the big protests in 2020 started, people knew already that we're there, because we were like 150 cities by then, and that they can reach to us and get support, not get orders, not get commands, not get told what to do, to get support, to get financial support, to get media coverage, to get social media coverage, to get some coordination if they needed some advice, but just support, not be in the network of people who are being told what to do. No, it just doesn't make sense telling people what to do.
You mentioned like that you decided not to like use violence, but there was like a state institution who used a lot of violence, which is police.
Yes, and police was violent. Police became really violent in 2020 during the protests against this so-called constitutional court ruling. There were cases of police violence before, like some in 2018, 2017, during the protests for judicial independence also, but it wasn't the scale. And there was a political decision, obviously, in 2020, especially about protests, but also Katowice. The police is just the worst there. But mostly in Warsaw, to use violence against protesters. People were being detained, people were being beaten up. We had anti-terrorists in plain clothes attacking the crowd and beating people up, kidnapping people, beating them up. And there's this famous video of me, I don't know how to say that. Yes, I guess storming the police. It looked like this, because they kidnapped a person and they just started beating them up in like 8 policemen. And we were trying to fight them. So yeah, and that's the scariest, I think, situation I remember. I got beaten up. I couldn't walk for a month and a half. And I think we all have some health problems, most of us who experience this violence, because it's not only the violence, like the physical violence, it's a lot of PTSD-like conditions after not only being victim of violence, but also being exposed to violence, and being in this general danger. We had many situations like that when we had standoffs with police. So they would just keep us on the street, surrounding us for hours, like 8 hours, deep into the night, and just they wouldn't let us go, or we wouldn't go because they wanted to take our IDs, and there is no law in Poland that would allow them to ask for our IDs when we're doing illegal gatherings. So people would just resist that, and the police didn't know what to do. So we would just stand there for 8 hours. This is also the situation when you're surrounded by armed men who are. Some of them are quite violent. Many of them are not really qualified, because also this kind of deterioration of the police was visible. So a lot of people suffer from that. And I have a lot of this minor PTSD kind of things still until now. So we have the whole mental health program for activists and anti-burnout and anti-PTSD. So I'm using that, and I'm relying on it heavily, because it takes a toll, and it's not like when it finishes, then everything is done. It stays for years, I think, with people when you're exposed to violence, or when you experience, not especially when it's the police violence, and this is your state, basically, then you have this feeling that, yeah, they will kill me if they are told to. And that's something that won't change. Like in my mind, I know that all uniformed forces, all people carrying weapons, the uniform, the state services that carry weapons, they will kill me if they are told to, I'm sure.
And basically, it's also like another symptom of a country which is like taking control over women's bodies, allowing them to die in hospitals, and also like allowing men to like hit women and like to be physically violent to them.
Yeah, they hated us. They wanted to send military. They called us horse with nails, like, this, because many, like, they hated the manicure thing. I don't know, like, that was this kind of, yeah. So, but it is what it is. Of course, many people, like for young people, I think it was the kind of formative experience, because they didn't experience this evolution from being not engaged and then the Democrat after this horrible government appeared, and then participating in protests, and then protests becoming more violent, because that's the path that we had, like my generation. People who entered 2020, young people who were 18, 16, 20 then, they just got beaten up. They went to the streets having all the equipment that you have to do when you're gassed, and you have to, remove the gas from your eyes and so on, and wearing, gloves and whatever. Like, it was, yeah. So it's obvious for me, and it's absolutely understandable that for young people from that generation, the state is an enemy. And it's not like, oh, this government has changed, so the state is fine, because their first experience with the state was not, oh, just the state we live in and it's not perfect, but whatever, like we had. It's, we don't see the state, and then when we see the state is basically sending guys with guns on us. So yeah, that's the youth experience.
Like the first time that someone said to me, you need to talk with Marta, was like a couple of days after I was physically also attacked on the street. And they, like, Irene from Planned Parenthood said to me, like, you need to talk with her. She also, like, is not a person for many people anymore. Like, she also became a symbol of resistance, but she also got like tons of hate, tons of like cases on the court. How do you deal with all this shit? And like, why you think it's important that you keep like opening up court cases, that you keep demanding justice?
So we have this brilliant program. It's called Psycho Alert, and it's pretty costly actually. And I'm really happy that we have that, and because it's a mental health help program, and it's not just a helpline for people to call when they are frustrated, or they think that they have activist burnout, or they were exposed to violence or anything like that. It's a proper therapy sessions, assigned some number of therapy sessions with psychiatrists, with psychologists, and we pay for this therapy. So it's like an ongoing help program, not just intervention thing. And many people in the movement use that. And I actually spoke about it a lot publicly. And I think and I'm really proud of this, because when I started saying that, yeah, I have to have therapy, I have to have this mental health specialist, and I have this burnout, and I have PTSD, and I have all those things. And I said it loud. Of course, there was this backlash from the right wing and so on. But many people who thought that they have to be this super strong persons and never admit that something is happening to them, decided, okay, so if she's speaking about this and she's using this support that is given, I might do it too. So yeah, I think the backlash was there, like Marta Lempart is crazy and she's weak and whatever. But many persons who just would just stay in this super heroine pose and then would just collapse at some point. They decided to also get help. So we have Psycho Alert, and we have a lot of legal assistance. I have 100 and I think 20 something cases, I don't know. So we have dozens of lawyers in Poland, I mean. And this is also one of the wonderful things that happened, because before this horrible previous government came, the perception of legal professionals was that these are rich people that don't care about anything, and this kind of a cliche. And then we got hundreds and hundreds of lawyers helping people who were protesting, helping people who were repressed by the government, doing that pro bono. So this is also this nice discovery that they just came with this all help. And yeah, so I have like serious cases. So I have like criminal cases in criminal court. I have a lot of the misdemeanor cases. So this really smaller cases when I don't pay fines, I go to court and prove that, yeah, I shouldn't be paying fine for doing gathering when it's legal gathering and or protesting. We have the right to protest and so on, so on. So there is a lot of that. The problem in Poland is that we still don't have the fixed judiciary system because we don't have full judicial independence. The previous government did the changes in the courts and in the law that, especially with the judges, removing judges, legally appointed judges, and establishing illegally appointed judges that were established by this illegally appointed Council of Judiciary. And these judges are not actually real judges. They were promoted illegally, they were established illegally. So I'm actually very furious at my country and my government and my state, because they should be doing something about it. They should be removing those judges. And I'm really, it's of course, it's again Christian Fundamentalist Party blocking that. So blocking these fake judges from being removed because they say we should verify them one by one. No, they are really illegally appointed. I have a right to stand in front of the real judge, not a fake one. And I shouldn't be the one filing the motion each time to say, this is a fake judge, this is a person that was illegally appointed, and I want the real judge. And you know, I have to do it in every case when I have these fake judges. I don't think that's fair. That's what I'm not angry about, going to court, proving whatever I did was legal, that I didn't do anything wrong. I'm so angry at the fact that my government doesn't care enough to provide me with real judges in my cases, that I have to file a motion each time asking for a real judge to be granted to me. I don't think that's fair. I don't think I deserve this, and I hate it, and I hope it changes, but it doesn't look good still. So we have dozens and hundreds of judges, of fake judges in our judiciary system, and it's quite scary because it will take them like 4 of them to basically put me to jail if they want. So yeah, I'm really angry that my government doesn't care enough to just remove them from the system for good.
And if we come back like in a circle to the government, like which was elected, the government was in fact elected by the movement. It was like the campaign was led by people who did small actions, big actions, by women from Ushut who were doing like confrontations, by women's strike who was doing events. Do you have a feeling that the newly elected officials know that they're not there because they would be so awesome and amazing, but that they're there because people were so angry and they just wanted change?
Yeah, it's always like this. Like, this is the gritted teeth vote, always. And that's why we have the stolen victory thing. Like, Wschód did the best campaign. Like, it was much better than ours, actually. Wschód did this pro-vote campaign on women's rights that really changed, I believe, that changed the outcome of these elections, encouraging women to vote. And we did also the campaign, it was called Vote for Abortion. So we would basically say, you don't have to care about anything. You might hate politicians as we do. We just need to collect 231 seats in the parliament for those people to vote yes to legal abortion. You were at the protest, now you have to go and vote. Now please go and vote and elect those people. And yeah, and we're in the situation we're at now. So there are really brilliant people in the government. Like, our Minister of Health is brilliant, and like all my hopes are with her. She's this amazing person doing super important things, but yeah, she's more an exception than a rule. And I think if this government follows like this, if Donald Tusk will let the Christian fundamentalists to dictate everything on women's rights, human rights, they will lose next election. So we will have this government, this previous government, back in power in 3 years if they will just keep doing like that. And it's quite painful to think of. But of course, it's more painful for us because we will be in jails, we will be harassed, we will be repressed. not them. They will just land their places in parliament securely. So, yeah.
You are the first person that I called with the idea for the European campaign. It was almost Christmas, or it was even Christmas.
Yeah, I think it's just before, I think, yeah.
Yeah, and like when I told you the idea to do the European level campaign to protect abortion, to basically call for European initiative, you said this is a Christmas gift in this political situation. Why, like, this campaign is important for Poland? Why is it important for you? And why you think for like a short term is the possible solution that we need?
I think for us, mostly, of course, like the whole reasoning behind it, that it will be actually changing the accessibility of abortion on all levels. For me, it has this very strong vibe that we need, this vibe of telling Christian fundamentalists in Poland, men who think that they can decide for us, all those people who come with these narratives that, yeah, women shouldn't have too much power over their bodies, that, yeah, you do you. We will be doing other things, and you just can just stand there, make press conferences, get hysterical about abortion being accessible. So I love this vibe. Like we actually tricked you, and we go behind your backs more or less, and we show you how it's done. And you can scream and shout and be this toddler in the supermarket and screaming, "I don't want abortion to be accessible to anyone ever," and we'll be, yeah, you do you. So I love this vibe of telling them, yeah, you just, yes, you can keep crying about how abortion shouldn't be accessible. You just do that. So yeah, that's what I say to the Speaker of Parliament, that he can do all the abuse of power, because Polish Speaker of Parliament basically abuses power and his position to not have any abortion bills proceeded and taken in Polish Parliament. And we will still do this thing. So yeah, I think they are already angry that we found this way, because it also makes people laugh at them and say, you were tricked. Polish women strike, women from Poland, women from Europe tricked you. You were here all important, blocking everything about abortion, and they found a way. So that's the thing. That's the evil part of me saying, yeah, you can have all the money, all the power, whatever you think, access to the media, and we will still find a way to show how stupid and just short-sighted you are. So I love this thing. And I think that it also means that, because in Europe we have, of course, different levels of accessibility of abortion. So it's not like in Poland it's inaccessible and everywhere else it's just brilliant. We know that it's not the case. Like Poland and Malta are the worst cases because we also have this legal system. But as we know, there are so many differences in many countries. Like in Croatia, it's legal, but you have to pay for it. And in Germany, they have this stupid law on not advertising abortion services, and they have like waiting periods in some. And there, of course, there's this religious clause in Italy and other countries, in Poland also, about the doctor's imaginary friends being more important than patients' rights, and so on, so on. And I think the pressure from the fact that it's not only Polish women who can travel to the Netherlands and have abortion there, but the pressure from women from any country in Europe being able to get abortion in the system that provides it better, in better conditions, with less humiliating factors or whatever, will be the pressure on all member states. Because there will be a movement and there will be a pressure. Why do we have to travel to have these services? Why can't we remove the barriers that are there in our country so our healthcare system also works like this? And I think it will be this, like it will be this demand, like we want it as it is in Netherlands, we want it as it is, and so on, so on. It's not only about Polish women just getting this rescue service. It's about women knowing that there is this service just abroad, that it's much better, and it's in this official healthcare system, and pressuring their own states and governments to have the same. So yeah, I believe that. Like I believe this is a way to cancel the waiting period. I believe this is the way to cancel religious clauses. I believe this is the way to cancel this like concilia, whatever documentation process, humiliating process that is in so many countries. I think that's a way also to force some countries to have abortions for free in their healthcare system. I think that's the way to do that also, because there will be this countries that you look at and do it as it should be done, and then you have these countries that just pretend to provide abortion services, but yeah, everybody knows that's not the case. So yeah, I'm looking at that also.
And also, like, we always say it is about the community, about like really like stubborn people coming together to fight this. And you keep mentioning the "you never walk alone" sentence.
Yeah, this is the chant that we had during the protests. I know it's like a football hooligan song, I think, but in Poland it has like there's no connection to it. So yeah, so that was the slogan in the protest. Nigdy nie będziesz sama, you never walk alone. And for me, it's this kind of being. It's not just a saying. It's people actually doing something and people being there with you when there is like this really oppressive situation, because that's the slogan you would hear when the police would attack people. This is a slogan you would hear when something really bad was happening. So it's not just, oh, I will help you when whatever happens. It's actually being there effectively with something bad is actually happening. And when people were being detained, that was the major thing outside the police, like this solidarity demonstrations outside the police stations. So, and if we've had so much of that in recent years, we had so many things happening around Poland, and people, I've seen so many symbolic gestures just coming from abroad, coming from the international community that we wouldn't even ask for. So yeah, that's the feeling. Because sometimes, yeah, it feels like walking alone, of course, because yeah, we're in this, and when something bad especially happens, when someone dies, for example, then it's kind of, yeah, it's obviously so heavy. But then we see that there's actually someone, this is also the thing, like we're all online, so realizing that there are so many people that I haven't even met, some of them I don't know how they look like, and they are just doing things to help us here. So yeah, I think that's what kept us going also, because Polish Women's Strike is people from small and middle-sized cities, and then when they see that there's this international acknowledgement of the movement as it is, that this is a movement that is in so many places in Poland, and when they see their photos actually being shared, in international media, in international channels, this is the acknowledgement for people who are doing the work locally. So yeah, I think that's one of the factors that this international acknowledgement and solidarity that kept us going, because obviously we had a huge fight, and we have another huge fight ahead of us. So because we have the signature collection now and the whole European elections, and then we'll have the national signature collection to ruin some chances of some people of becoming a president of Poland. So yeah, it will be a busy time.
Yeah. Marta, when you put me and you together, it's a lot, like for everyone around and also for us. But I wouldn't choose anyone to have this fight with, like anyone else than you. Like, I'm extremely happy that we somehow found each other. And I think it's like troublemaking for life. And let's see what next months will bring to us, and hope for the best.
Yeah, thank you. I'm always lucky. Like wherever I went, I would always meet people that would be. And it's usually I actually have this sometimes when I think, and we've had that also on this like big national level, when I thought that this is the end, this is like we did everything we could, and we cannot, like, this is the end of the tunnel. That's it. Then some things like this miracles would happen in a week or in a day, with some new things opening, and I've had this for so many years already. Like I had this, like this is the thing with the project now. We will have huge fight in Poland to legalize, decriminalize abortion, and it will take us some time. And in the meantime, we have this huge project that will keep us going and will keep support for legal abortion in Poland, and will just lead us. Like this is the natural missing part that we were looking for to do this year. Because the national collection and this national attempt to legalize abortion again in Polish Parliament will be next year. So it was like I was basically looking for some work to do, and yeah, then it happened.
and now we have work. And thank you for this conversation, and see you soon in Poland.
And see you soon.